So what is that root cause that people refer to? Well, I can tell you, when I first learned timeline techniques and then time-based techniques and explored Erickson's backtracking approach and so on, all of these addressing the significant emotional event in the past, which is the root cause of the problem the client is experiencing now, it occurred to me that that's got to be the solution. One has to get the root cause. And when you've got the root cause and you apply a model or your healing method or whatever at the root cause, then you're healing it at the level where it counts. And quite frankly, if you know about that, then why should you ever be bothered about anything else? You've got to get the root cause, was my perception at the time. And I have found over the years that it's absolutely unnecessary to think that way, and in fact it was blocking me. Because the client will bring up whatever is most necessary in the session, to the extent that you have an inductive process that encourages them to go within, to get in touch with whatever is happening for them, and whatever arises for them in the session is what has to arise. I know some hypnosis fans and other metaphysical healers who are so big on regression, and they believe that unless you're regressing to this root cause, then you're just doing something superficial. I have found that to be a load of hogwash. Because the triggers that show up in your life right now, when dealt with and dealt with thoroughly, that no longer affect you, there's a ripple effect that generalizes out into other contexts of your life. And it is very generative and very deeply healing, and is by no means superficial. And you don't have a problem anymore. And you're dealing with that issue in the here and now. And I have found over and over again that clients are able to make rapid and sustainable changes that have generative effect in other areas of their life too. And we didn't do any kind of regressive technique. Still, I do regression when it seems necessary. And when it seems necessary to me is when clients say something like, I've had this forever. I've had this problem for as long as I can remember. I've tried so much to deal with it already, and it just doesn't go away. And I've had it in all different areas of my life. Not just this area, but I just get it. I don't even know where it comes from. Just suddenly I'm having this hard negative emotion. Onwards to the Re-Imprint Method. Re-imprint, as its name implies, is one of those techniques in NLP that enables you to re-imprint information into your neurology at an unconscious level, so that new awareness can make its way up to conscious awareness, so that you can think and feel differently about a presenting challenge in your life. And it's one of those very useful methods that addresses the root cause. This is a great regression technique. This one's actually in your HNLP manual. And it's designed specific to regress you to learn something about a past memory when the meaning you gave that experience was not a resourceful one, as well as heal the others in a memory. So if, for example, the cause of the client's problem now has something to do with an experience they had in the past where others were involved. For example, they were the victim and something was done to them by perpetrators at some stage. It's very good for that, because it will help you to facilitate a healing process that enables the client to become more accepting and therefore forgiving toward the others. And I wonder if you can agree with me that until such time that we can accept and forgive ourselves and others in relation to such an experience in the past, we cannot move beyond it. We will continue to be plagued by it in our life.
So the re-imprint is also a way of regression, but
the re-imprint is a regressive technique, and it utilizes one of two ways to regress the client. Timelines is one of them, it's in your notes, and backtracking is the other one. Timelines is visual, seeing a timeline and floating above it back in time. Backtracking is getting in touch with the feeling and letting the feeling transport your awareness all the way back to its own root. And the first thing that comes to mind is what's relevant. It goes as follows. Identify a recent experience with a negative feeling which is pervasive across contexts. What happens is the client defines an issue and it just happens in all areas of their life and gets triggered from time to time. And it is the result of a limiting belief that they have. I am not good enough. It's hard to make money. I don't have the right kind of education. Others are more clever than me. I'm ugly. I don't deserve a soulmate, and all these types of things clients may say to you. So you volunteered because there is something that is emotional for you, okay? And before I assume anything at all, would you be so kind and just tell me what it is so that we can get just that little bit of information that's necessary to get this thing going, okay?
Sure. The main issue, and it is something I've had all my life,
okay,
as long as I can remember, is self-worth.
I help my client to anchor the experience of that limiting belief or negative emotion now. And the way in which I anchor it is not through touch. It can be, but I don't use touch anchors when I'm coaching clients. I don't touch my clients. There's certain therapeutic models where I do, as in part of the allergy cure. So the way I anchor that then without touch is the client defines their problem in, I just feel this, and I say, okay, and that feeling, and I just repeat it back to them with the visual and the whole thing that they do and the same tone that they use and the same word that they use. And that's how I just repeat that back to them. That's how I've anchored it. Then, assist the client to go to the earliest memory with this negative feeling. The imprint period is from ages 0 to 7. That's in brackets. Just by the way, remember, 90% or so, maybe more, of your client's personality got formed in the imprint years. So if they go to just last year and they're telling you that's the root cause, be suspicious. Is it really? But I'm not too provocative either and say to my clients, come on, there's no way that's the root cause, buddy. What are you afraid of? Get back there. Got to be between age 0 and 7 or before. Okay? But in a gentle way, I'll suggest, really? That feeling. You never ever had any tinkling of that particular feeling in your body before last year? Could it be that last year it just got provoked, but it's been there longer? Yeah, well, now that you say that, okay, let's get back in touch with that. And now, as you're fully aware, I've elicited the kinesthetic submodalities, the client's attention is vividly in this. You'll see this in a demo. Take that. Let that take you all the way back. I'd like you to get in touch, just briefly for a moment, please, with that feeling that you felt this morning. And now what I'd like you to do, as you just get in touch with that as much as you vividly can, right now, I'd like you to let those feelings, that symptom, take you in your mind all the way back to the very root cause. That's right. The very first significant emotional event or chain of events. Let it take you all the way back to whatever that might be for you, in whatever form it comes to mind right now. And you can let me know with a head nod when your unconscious mind has arrived at something that for you symbolizes that first event that has led to the... And you can take all the time you need to go all the way back, through time, over time, in time. That's right. Dissociate from that early scene. They may go, and probably will, go straight into something in the past. And you don't want them going into an ugly negative emotion, because they'll go straight into it and get stuck there, so to speak. They're not stuck. You can always get them unstuck. But what you want in order for the process to be effective is to immediately dissociate them. Okay, so they go to that scene and I say, excellent, well done on finding it. Now see it way over there as a small representation. What am I doing to the submodalities? Far off in the distance. Now I'd like you to see that scene as a distant picture off in the distance. Okay. I'd like you just to look down upon that so that it's far away and in front of you. Just push it out into the distance, or pull yourself all the way back so that you can view it from far away, high above, so that it's a small little representation off into the distance. Now, we identify major figures in the scene. Who's there? Are you there? Are others there? What's the intention of everybody? What's your intention behind what you're doing in that situation? What are the intentions of others down there in that situation? And what are the resources needed by each in order to be congruent with those highest intentions? And as you're observing that over there, are you over there in that scene? Yes. That's right. Just observe yourself. Is it your younger self?
Yes.
That's right. I'd like you to observe your younger self. Now you're sitting here with me, safe and secure in Hout Bay, observing that picture all the way over there in the past. And as you observe that picture, I don't know what there is for you to learn in that scene back there, because there's something that you were unable to know at the time that you can become aware of now. And you can let me know with a head nod when there is a learning that you know now that you can share with your younger self. Observing that scenario down there in the past. That's right. I then anchor the resources to that child or to the past representation of that person and run through dissociated and then associated. What that means is, I want you to connect with all the resources that are available to you now as this observing witness. And just send them down to your younger self in that situation down there. The ones that you needed down there that weren't available to you at the time. That's anchoring them down to the child. Now, provide your younger self with the learning that is required for her to discover what needs to be discovered, for her to make a different decision about the meaning of that experience, for her to realize now what she was unable to realize then. And most of all, let her know that whatever she was doing at the time was the best she could with her level of awareness. Now, when you see that situation has changed from your point of view, go down and be in your body, associate, in light of these resources and this new awareness. Back here, looking down at that situation off in the distance, what are the resources that the others need? And anybody else who's involved in that scene in whatever way, let her know that what they were doing was the best that they could, given their level of awareness at the time. And just go and be right there with her now, in that scene. And provide her directly with whatever it is that was missing to her at the time that she needs. And you can communicate to her in whatever way you would communicate to someone that age. And you can take all the time you need right now to provide whatever is necessary, whatever learning, whatever message, whatever love, whatever strength. And although she might have been an infant, if she could express to you in the only way that you could understand what it is that she needs, you can allow her to do so, so that you might provide her with precisely that which she needs. And you're connected to that infinite reservoir of healing light and love and resourcefulness. So you have the ability to give that to her in whatever way is most appropriate for you right now. That's right. And let that healing complete itself fully, so that you can lovingly embrace her and pull her into your heart so completely, so that you and her can merge, that's right, and become the one that you are. Most certainly, if the client doesn't learn something constructive about the meaning that they gave that past experience, they won't be able to accept and forgive. In other words, they haven't yet got a positive learning. I can, at this stage, ask my client, what is it that you have to learn about that situation down there? The learning of which completely transforms the meaning you're giving that experience so that you can accept and forgive. The check the recent experience in step 1 without anchors is as follows. You say, just come back to now. Come back only to the extent that you've fully integrated and grown up that part of yourself so that it's one inside you, no longer a part. But completely whole and integrated now. Integrating your healing and transformation until you're one. And ready to open your eyes once again to a new experience. Are you back?
Yes.
Okay. Big one.
Yeah.
How's your body feeling?
Like my chest just opened up.
Your chest just opened up.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now think about that issue. And I'm not reviving the issue by firing that anchor that the client used at the beginning. I'm not using that gesture anymore. I'm just saying, think about that issue and what you notice. Why would I not want to anchor the issue at this stage in that way?
You don't want it to go back into that state again.
Yeah. It would be reinstalling the issue. When somebody's just finished a technique like this, they've just been guided through it, they're in an afterglow and they need some time to settle and integrate. I don't want to be using the trigger words that fire the problem or the trigger anchor at this stage. Yeah. I want that new neural net to strengthen and seal itself in a little bit more before I start to actually use those words that the client used to use to define their problem. Okay. But I can do a future pace. So imagine a time in the future when you're going to be in a situation where you get to, test if this has worked. And the client goes there and they go, yeah, that feels pretty cool. I couldn't have imagined it going that well before. Great stuff. You've dealt with more than you think you have consciously here right now. So you might even be surprised, I don't know. But if you were to think about that thing you thought about at the beginning of the session that was an issue for you, what happens?
What was it again?
I'm not too sure.
Battling to find it.
Well, how about this one? There's probably going to come a time, whether it's in a few weeks or months from now, I don't know, where you're going to meet, somebody else, perhaps. I don't know what that somebody else might look like or what he might be like, but there, you are, and maybe it's just that time. And what might happen?
Well, the situation would be him rejecting me or leaving me or not choosing me.
Okay, that's a real worst case scenario, isn't it?
That's the worst case.
So in the worst case scenario, how do you see yourself responding to that?
Okay.
You're okay. And as you're okay, how do you know you're okay?
Feel it.
How do you feel that? Oh, you do? Well done. Are we done? Are you sure? So the re-imprint method is about revisiting whatever is relevant, which is whatever the client's unconscious mind brings up in the session, and re-educating that past representation, the younger self, with whatever it is that she or he was missing at the time. Okay? And above all, letting that younger self know that he or she was doing the best they could at the time with their level of awareness. And that anybody else who may or may not have been involved at that past event was also doing the best they could with their level of awareness at the time. That becomes a massive neurological reframe. The understanding gives way to acceptance and forgiveness. We don't aim to try and achieve forgiveness. We allow forgiveness to happen as a result of understanding. That then enables an emotional release. We come back and we watch the younger self grow up towards present time. Or we embrace him or her and bring them into our bodies, come back more kinesthetically up to present time. Okay. Not once do we rely on a timeline. You may, if you are a fan of timelines, use the metaphor of timelines. This model gives you two options. Client comes in with a presenting problem. What's your reality strategy? How do you know you've got that problem? Well, I get this picture. Okay, so I already know that the client makes pictures. Okay. If you could point to your past, where would you point? And the client goes. And if you could point to your future, where would you point? And they do that. And I go, great. Now, if you join those 2 points, you've got a timeline, don't you? Yeah. Sort of going back into your past and heading off into your future. That's correct. Do you see that? Yeah. Okay, how do you like to visualize that? I see a path through a forest. Wonderful. I know this person loves timelines. Great. And I want you to float up and back over that timeline all the way back in time to the root cause of this feeling, this issue in your life right now, and keep floating back over your timeline until your unconscious mind takes you right to the root cause right now. That's the timeline approach. The other one is Erickson's backtracking method, my preferred method. Client comes with the problem, get in touch with it. I say, okay, as you're having this state, how do you feel? I want them to get in touch with the feeling. Even an AD person can tell you, if they've got a problem, there's an emotion associated to it. Otherwise, they wouldn't come to see you. All right? There's something, somewhere in their body. Associate them vividly into the problem if you must. When's the last time you really had this issue in your life? Tell me about it, as if you're there right now. Get them vividly associated into the last time they really, really experienced this problem. Now, what are you feeling? Get in touch with that feeling. Okay, now they'll feel it. Say, right, now just let go of that issue, let go of the story, let go of the thoughts, stay with the feeling, put all your awareness onto that feeling, and as you put all your attention inside on that feeling, let the feeling itself transport your awareness all the way back to its own root cause, and let it take you now. And the first thing that comes to mind is the right thing for you right now, wherever your mind wants to go. I may have to prompt them along, or I just wait, calibrating. I may have to say, let me know when you're there with a head nod, or I might just say, where are you now? When I calibrate that I'm getting rapid eye movement and some kinesthetics going on, whatever it might be. As soon as they get somewhere and they go, can you verbalize that? Do you want to tell me? Or just, are you there right now? They go, mm-hmm. I say, I want you to see that far off in the distance as a small little representation all the way down and in front of you. Create dissociation as fast as possible. Okay? Because if it is a traumatic past event, you want to get dissociation. It's useless then being in it, and you need to get the learning, and you get the learning from being dissociated. And then it goes. Okay. That's the overview. I will always favor this kind of approach over the belief change map across. Because what this does is it changes the submodalities. The reason why the belief change map across technique came into existence was through identifying, as the client defines their problem, and you ask them about the submodalities of the internal representation, and then you get them to define how they're feeling when they feel really good at the end of it all, once it's completely cleared, and what are the submodalities of that? Oh, they've changed. So NLP modelers concluded, well, then we can just get them to change the submodalities using a map across, and we don't have to do anything like this. And they realize, oh, that works also. But here you get a learning, and with that learning is an insight. And I believe that empowers us to become more accountable in our life right now. And just changing the submodalities does not provide us with a learning or insight, and therefore does not enable us to become more accountable in our life right now. That may not matter, but it might matter. And I like to favor approaches where we learn something constructive, and through that learning, we know how to be resourceful in our life now. It's not just an unconscious change, like body work. And before NLP, I did lots of body work with clients, various healing modalities, laying of hands and stuff like that, stress release techniques. And clients would have a profound result. And afterwards, they weren't really able to access the problem. They were feeling much better. But a few months later, they were having the problem again. I was like, why? Why is that? Because they hadn't got the learning and integrated the learning that enabled them to be more resourceful sustainably. Are we done?
Yes, I think we're done.